ụmụnne m ndị Enuani na ụmụnne m ndị Igbo daalụ na Chukwu ya gọzie unu ka unu si eso Enuani Cultural Forum. Today we are going to look at a very interesting and virgin topic. We are going to be looking at the Ogwashi-Uku expedition. Have you ever heard about the Ogwashi-Uku expedition? Yes, I know you have heard about the British punitive expedition of Benin in 1897. But I doubt if you have heard about the Ogwashi-Uku expedition. This took place during the famous Ekumeku War. Let's take a look at the Ogwashi-Uku expedition and the rise of Nzekwe, who would later become a head chief in Ogwashi-Uku, which we call Òbì Nzekwe, yes, became the Òbì of Ogwashi-Uku, toppling his most bitter arch rival, Òbì Okonjo. Let's look at Ogwashi-Uku expedition from the lens of Professor S.N. Nwabara. Let's look at it together. Ogwashi-Uku expedition, November 1900 to May 1910. Previous attempts to suppress the Ekumeku society appear to have been futile, as there were further disturbances by the society in 1909 to 1910. It was also responsible for the disturbances in Abo district in 1906. This time, it was alleged that the society had blocked trade routes and destroyed a government rest house as well as buildings belonging to the Roman Catholic Mission. Under the command of Captain G.N. Sheffield, a company of 4 officers, 1 British non-commissioned officer, and 131 men was dispatched. It carried a maxim: at Ogwashi-Uku, the company was attacked. And from 2nd November 1909, there was severe fighting when Sheffield attempted to capture the ringleaders. Despite its small size, the company kept its ground, losing only 1 soldier, but failed to capture the ringleaders. The battle for the capture of the ringleaders, fought between 6th of January and April 1910, was severer, in that the company lost 7 were killed and 15 wounded. It retreated to base, and on 25th April, Sheffield signaled for reinforcement. A senior officer, Major Bruce, appeared with 5 officers, 160 men, and 2 Maxims. In the encounter that followed, an officer, Major J.H. Chapman, was killed. Despite the arrival of reinforcements and the progress made as a result, the push to subdue the people and bring them under government control was not as fast as expected. A combination of factors unknown to the government was responsible. Internal rivalry between 2 chiefs, Nzekwe and Okonjo, each with his supporters, and the Ekumeku rising. The background to the trouble at Ogwashi-Uku at this time was completely misunderstood by the government, who saw it as an act of disaffection on the part of the people. Chief Nzekwe was portrayed as the man causing the disaffection, and he was therefore the man being sought and fought by the government. It was later that the truth was realized. However, the truth came to light with the attachment of the patrol of A. Newton Harper, a political officer, on instructions of the governor, dated 20th April 1910. Between 30th April to 3rd of May, he engaged himself in interviewing some friendly Ogwashi-Uku people and explaining to them the intentions of the government, as well as obtaining information regarding Chief Nzekwe's whereabouts and his bush camps. One of Harper's discoveries was that the government interpreter, a Mr. Rotilu, had been a backleg, apparently relaying government information to Chief Nzekwe. He had also prevented people from coming forward to give information on Chief Nzekwe. Not only was the report against Rotilu confirmed by many Ogwashi-Uku people, but on the 4th of May, Chief Okonjo, a sworn enemy, a fact yet unknown to the government, of Chief Nzekwe, swore an affidavit against the interpreter for preventing him from seeing the OC, officer commanding patrol, when bringing information as to the whereabouts of Nzekwe, who at the time was living in the house of Ekumeku. A charge of blackmail was brought against the interpreter and he was arrested. Efforts were then intensified to destroy Chief Nzekwe and his camps. That same day, a midnight march by the patrol to Aniogo, where his men were reported to be camped, was frustrated by thick darkness and the road being lined with spiky bushes. The following day, the village was invaded at 11:30 p.m. and after a sharp fight in which some important supporters of Nzekwe were killed, the remnants fled. Unfortunately for the patrol, Chief Nzekwe escaped to the nearby village of Anyadike, where a surprise attack was launched and casualties inflicted, but the chief escaped again. Between 7th and 10th May, the troops ran short of supplies and were put on half rations. On the 11th, a surprise swoop was made on Nzekwe's camp in the bush, but yet again he managed to escape. Nzekwe anakwa On the 12th, the patrol was reorganized into 2 sub-columns, one at Ogwashi and the other at Olo Ogwashi. Olo Ogwashi is a small community that was set up by Odu, the first queen mother of Ogwashi-Uku, the first woman king of Ogwashi-Uku. Olodu, that's what it's called. Olodu. Olu is like a foreign land where Odu lived. That is why it is called Oluodu. So, Odu, when she was banished from being a queen, one day I will discuss this topic. She was the person who succeeded her father, Odaibo, to become the king, the female king of Ogwashi-Uku. But then, she could not hold on to the kingship. When she was banished from Ogwashi-Uku, she lived in the place we now call Oluodu. And that is where Nzekwe has made his camp. Let's continue with this interesting story. Nzekwe's camp at Olo was destroyed by the sub-column under Major Wailing. A meeting of the Olo elders was warned against concealing the whereabouts of Chief Nzekwe. On the 15th, information revealed to the patrol the existence of enemy camps at Aniofo, Abedi, Anioputa, and Azungu, all of which were set up and manned by members of Ekumeku society from all parts of the district. These camps were attacked and destroyed. Following the destruction of the camps and the resulting dispersal of Ekumeku ringleaders, people became less afraid to talk. And so the political officer was enlightened about the true political situation in Ogwashi-Uku. Chief Okonjo was supposed to be not only in possession of a government 303 carbine and ammunition, but also in collusion with Rotilu, the former interpreter, against whom he had sworn an affidavit of disloyalty to the government. Chief Okonjo was sentenced on various charges relating to the former offense to 10 months imprisonment and a fine of £10. As regards the later accusations, Okonjo, with the support of the interpreter, blackmailed the people with his ability to call in the white man to defend his enemies. And in the event of any other chief having become prominently friendly with the government, he was blackmailed, and if payment was refused, a charge would be trumped up against him. For example, Chief Odowane, who had been imprisoned on information brought by Okonjo for being anti-government, was released on the confession of Okonjo himself that the information was false. Okonjo, Oyecho, Korea, Echo Koso, ndị oyibo memoyi na mbụ eso Igbo memoyo nwane ya na-ewe memoyo ogbo ya na ebubo obozi ya na ebubo atụ awo ya na nga dịka nke menwo enya akpọ afa bụ Odowan o mefe anyị isu ofu ya jikwa ọnụ asị na nyenwe ogwo ya mbụ bụ asị agba ewepụcha weye. The truth about Chief Nzekwe then dawned on the government. This is very, very interesting. The truth about Chief Nzekwe then came out. Makane adwe uchi eziokwu. Eziokwu dị ka mkpụrụ ọnọbere kwota na anyị okwu. So let's see what happened after the government learned the true position of Nzekwe. The political officer reported that originally Nzekwe had no desire or intention to rebel or defy the government, but was, in quote, driven into his present position by his enemy, Okonjo, and his native lawyer. It has been, and still is, in parts, a matter of universal belief that the lawyer sent the soldiers to help Okonjo, and this belief has been steadily fostered by Okonjo for his own ends. The war began as a fight for the chieftaincy, Nzekwe and his followers versus Okonjo, the lawyers and the soldiers on the other. It has now degenerated into an Ekumeku rising. Yabo, Ekumeku rising in King of Ogwashi-Uku is as a result of the fight, the fracas, the political tussle, the power tussle between Okonjo and Nzekwe, his arch rival. Each group with its own supporters, and this group then began to fight each other that made the resistance in Ogwashi-Uku divided but skewed in favor of one person who was Okonjo, who used his connection with the government to fight Nzekwe until this truth came out. Now, this is the breaking point. There was tension in Ogwashi-Uku when there were fears that Chief Nzekwe may have been killed. The imprisonment of Rotilu and Okonjo won the fight for the patrol because on 19th May, all the disaffected villages in the district offered their friendship to the government. On the 27th May at 1 p.m., Chief Nzekwe appeared. Nzekwe Bakana Ozo Ganaire. Nzekwe appeared before Harper at Olo when ordered to surrender unconditionally. He asked if the lawyers were still in the camp, and when told that he was surrendering to the government, he became afraid because he then discovered that he had been fighting the government and not Okonjo and his lawyers. He surrendered with his bodyguard of 200 men. Odogwumoki soinazo, Odogwumoki soinazo, aya, Odogwumoki soinazo, Odogwumoki soinazo, aya, Odogwumoki soinazo, Odogwumoki soinazo, aya, Odogwumoki soinazo, Odogwumoki soinazo, aya. Ikolobia 200 came down with Nzekwe to surrender to the government. He never actually knew that he was fighting the government. All this while he thought he was fighting Okonjo. No, he didn't. So let's continue this beautiful story. On 28th May, a meeting was held between the government officials and the disaffected towns, villages and quarters. The latter were charged and fines of money were imposed. The chiefs pleaded that the war, as they described it, had left them poor and destitute, and asked that they be allowed to sell their women to pay the fines. Aya ndị oyibo wechara anyị bụ aya Ekumeku. Anụsị ahụ ya bụ aya agba etimewulu damewe nsha na wakwuere nsha ihe niile we mebi ogwe ji nụ ya bụ aya. Ndị Ogwashi ahụ na gbesi ga-ebushi ego maka na apịa da azụ onye ọbụla mmadụ eme akwụsịgo nwozi n'onye n'ụlọ nke si meni asọ tuko na rie agbasi owe ya niwe efe wee nwee ike chọkọme wee ga-etitikọshe godịbụna ụmụaka ikposho wedo wee lee. It got to that point of a community deciding to sell her women to raise money to pay the fines imposed on them by a colonial government that had plunged them into war. This is what we talk about when we talk about colonialism. This is the pains of colonialism. This is one of the most brutal pains caused by colonialism, and very, very sadly, this one happened in a community where my mother hailed from. My mother is from Ogwashi-Uku and my father from Obunuku, the community where the actual headquarters of Ekumeku is, even unto this day. Let's proceed with this story and see how they managed to pay off the fines, the stringent fines imposed by the British government on Ogwashi-Uku community. Because of this fight between Okonjo and Nzekwe, they added that the closure of their market was inimical to their economic recovery. They were therefore promised that the market would be held on 5th of June. Major Bruce shared the feelings of Ogwashi-Uku people, knowing the district himself. In a confidential letter to the Secretary of the Southern Provinces, he opposed heavy money fines on the following grounds. The towns had been impoverished by the fighting. The fines did not fall equally on the various quarters. Though a large town, Ogwashi-Uku was not rich, had no great resources. While the market had never been very important, he suggested instead that the people should be employed in making roads, building bridges, and reconstructing the rest houses and the mission houses. Regarding Chief Nzekwe, the political officer had informed the chiefs at the meeting on 28th that this case could be settled by higher authorities. On the 31st of May, a telegram from the governor directed that Chief Nzekwe should be sent to Lagos. However, by that time, he was seriously sick and confined to bed by a Dr. Rankin, who stated that Nzekwe was suffering from bronchitis and was quite unfit to travel. Nzekwe never did travel to Lagos. Yes, he never did. Nzekwe never traveled to Lagos. Apparently because the political officer mentioned that he, together with other chiefs, were doing everything in their powers to assist in the resettling of the people. There is no doubt that he impressed the political officer, who wrote about him in glowing terms to the Secretary of the Southern Provinces. And I quote, "Nzekwe is a man of very great power in the districts. Everyone kneels to him with the salute of Ago, in bracket, lion. He is supreme throughout the south of the Asaba district, and his word is law. He has always been friendly to the government and was undoubtedly driven into the war by Okonjo and the lawyers. His surrender immediately brought the war to a finish. If I may venture to suggest, it would be the most satisfactory solution to the difficulty in if Nzekwe is reinstated by the government as head chief of Ogwashi-Uku. He has already sent messengers throughout the country stating that peace has been declared and that the government is to be obeyed. The result of this message has been extraordinary. It is, in my opinion, absolutely safe for anyone to travel wherever he wishes throughout the disturbed area." End of quote. The above was followed with a telegram to the Secretary of the Southern Provinces soliciting Nzekwe's reinstatement as the head chief. As the following citation shows, my opinion of Nzekwe's case is that the only possible satisfactory solution is his reinstatement as head chief. Nzekwe wields immense power in districts which he is using in government interest. If above suggestion is agreed to, I anticipate no further trouble. Hostly concurs and telegrammed Commandant Lagos to this effect. No further trouble did occur at Ogwashi-Uku, at least not in Nzekwe's lifetime. This is the entirety of the story of the Ogwashi-Uku expedition that led to the reinstatement of Nzekwe as Òbì of Ogwashi-Uku. We all know that later the family of Okonjo would challenge this in court and reclaim the kingship of Ogwashi-Uku, so that today we have Òbì Ifechukwude Anishi Okonjo as the Òbì of Ogwashi-Uku kingdom. I hope you enjoyed this interesting story. Next time we'll be looking at other communities. Let's look at how the war was fought in Ubuluku axis, where you have the headquarters of Ekumeku. Who was the king of Ubuluku at the time, and what was his role in the Ekumeku resistance, the longest colonial resistance struggle in the history of mankind. Thank you for following Enu Cultural Forum. I encourage you to please subscribe to our channel, share our videos, and thank you for supporting us. See you in our next video.
Et